Hello, Jay.
Hi, Claire. Give me a second. Hang on.
How are you?
I'm with you in 2 seconds. Closing windows down. That one. Right. Hi, Claire.
Hello, Jay. How are you today?
Oh, I'm going to have to switch off the. I'm with you. Hang on. I'm ready. I am. Well, I'll be honest. Oh, God. I'm all right. I'm pretty good. I probably sound a bit bunged up, but I am improving. I'm on the third week of. I had a cold and then it was chest infection, and it's the first illness I've had in quite a while, so I shouldn't be too disappointed. But I'm late because I went up to the gym swimming. I only did 10 lengths and a steam room.
Are you sure you should be swimming in your condition?
Well, I haven't for 3 weeks, and I think I'm about 80% better, and I do feel better for doing it. Yeah, so I've got some antibiotics and stuff, but I think at some point you have to get back on the horse, as they say. So yeah, I'm okay. I'm improving, but there's so many people ill. I don't know what it's like where you're at or whatever, but it's just half the people I know are wiped out here.
What, with the same bug?
Just they're just not shaking stuff off. And I'll tell you another thing was interesting. Like, there's loads and loads of dogs up here. People have dogs, not children. And the school, there's a school opposite me. I'll send you a picture of it. It's only been up 10 years. It's huge, massive, like modern art design, architecture, and it's closing down. It's just closing down, and the main reason is birth rate.
Oh.
And this is honestly, it literally is birth rate. I'm thinking, wow. So all the children from there have to go to another school, which is about a mile down the road. So that's quite interesting, isn't it? I'm going to send you a picture now on WhatsApp, and you will see what I mean.
Well, that is a bit disturbing, but this is something that I read of Japanese schools and hospitals closing down because they have a low birth rate too.
Yeah, I've sent you the picture. Can you see it?
Let me go there. Yes.
And that's a secondary school. Well, it's a secondary school.
Well, it makes me think of Teletubbies.
Yeah, it's strange. It's really strange, but it had, like, I think nearly 1,000 people. Like, it gets in the way of my swim route when I'm driving to the sea. But so I'm quite glad it's closing. It means I'll be able to get there without traffic jam. But yeah, so I'm okay. So how are you? How is I'm going to say something really silly then. What people say, how is life treating you?
Well, I think people sort of know because I'm always telling people what I think about things. So, and I've been doing lots of stuff with Vincent, starting this document center of secular Quranism with, stories, manifestos, constitutions, and that kind of thing, which is basically prompting Grok to produce them. And it's been tremendous fun because, a lot of it I think is quite funny.
It's good. You need to keep, like with music, you need to keep getting a new instrument or a new guitar or a new toy to keep you, like, motivated, to keep looking at it a different way, to keep keep at it. New people, new dynamics, new enthusiasm. And the thing is, though, with this AI stuff, I get it. You could, like, as you did about me, you give some information, like you probably said, Jay, fake Christian or whatever, or some nonsense like that, and it writes a story, but like it cannot do what you could do. And I think that's where they try and sort of sell it. It does what it can do, but like it'll never replace. Like, there's only one Claire core in the world, thank God, and there's only one Jay. Like, nobody is ever will be or has been born like you, and like that cannot be replaced. And what it's doing, I don't think it's replacing you. It's just regurgitating words in a order which you put into it. It doesn't create anything that you might have an idea tomorrow for your political activism. It can't do that. It doesn't create. And so I'm not so much a fan of it. I'm not blinded by it. Do you
not use it at all?
No. I've got a friend who works for the government, and he mentioned earlier today he's been working really like involved with digital AI stuff. And I asked, will it cost jobs? And he said, definitely, but it's amazing what you can do with it. And then he sent me a song or a poem that was obviously from a friend. It was quite insulting, which is what friends do. And he had to punch in J, fat, bald head, idiot, stupid, or something. And then there was a poem written about me. But like, it just arranged words in an order. It doesn't feel. It's just like, well, it's a computer. It would have been better if he'd done it, but he's not very good with from creating stuff. So maybe for people who haven't got enough, you can write songs on it that are just, you could write a song. You can punch in the words, and it'll do a little ditty for you, and it'll say, "Oh, do you want a rock beat? Do you want it dance? Do you want pianos on and whatever?" And it'll come up with some fucking atrocious stuff. But I'm not against it. I just see it for what it is. It's not. And I think you might get bored of it as well, because eventually it does come back to you. And if the whole world's using it, then it will create the same stuff. But secular Quranism, for all its faults, has been created by a human, not a computer.
But it's being developed by a computer, and then it comes up with something, and it gives me another idea, and then I ask it to do something else, and it gives me another idea, and I suppose you could say it's some kind of partnership.
But it's you. But as long as you know that you're in charge and it's your ideas, it's basically an extension of auto word speech dictation, where you're talking to your phone and it types it. As long as you know that it's just like a machine that's reproducing stuff that you give it, and it isn't going to, like, the next idea. Like, I mean, why don't you try this? Oddly enough, say, create the next idea, or prospective idea for secular Quranism, and let's see what it comes up with.
Well, it's already doing this, because in the way that it starts a story, it does a sitcom, produces a
it does all of that.
manifesto.
It isn't going to say something like, I think that what you could do is stop your YouTube things, start contacting a few other people. It doesn't come up with anything suggestive that's like, it just chops up and it's like cutting up a load of words on, cutting them up and putting them in a hat and drawing them out. It doesn't. I think you'll get bored and you'll come back to yourself at some point because you'll realise it's just a toy, Claire. It's just a toy. It's not. It's not an extension of you. It's just a machine. You know, like
Well, I think it's kind of better in a way because of how quickly it produces essays and gives you answers and things.
Right, answers. What like? So give me a good question that you've give it that the answers come back. That like
You haven't been listening to any of my streams.
I do. I'll be honest. I don't. They're terrible, and I'm not starting an argument with you. But a lot of it is just like, oh look, it's done that. Look, it's done that. It's done that. You know, and eventually you'll realize. I'm not dragging you or your ideas off or whatever. But it's like Claire's now. It's like when you got. It's like you remember when you got that friend with that American woman, quite dreadful woman. What was her name? The straight one.
An American woman? Was it Carol?
Carol, yeah, she didn't like people swearing. And you know, you play with her, and she was going to join up, and she was this and all of that, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but like eventually, it does come back to you, and I think it's good because it keeps you motivated, and it's, as I said, it's a new toy. I've just got in front of me a digital delay guitar pedal. It cost nearly £20, but I will get a month of trying stuff on it and enthusiasm. But ultimately, it comes down to me, what I play, and with you, it comes down to you. You know, it cannot make intelligent people out of idiots. It cannot make like. It cannot do what the human does. It cannot do that stuff. It regurgitates loads of information and sends it back to you. And it's like you're still at the childish phase of, oh look, it's like having an invisible play friend or something. I know that sounds negative, maybe it is, but
No, you know, we actually said to each other, Vincent and I, that it's like finding a new friend.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but I did. Yeah, I'm going to ask you questions, which I know are just loaded and stuff like that. But anyway, should we get back onto anything that we are wanting to talk about? I see you've obviously named the stream J Reviews Bridget Jones.
Yeah, because you told me you saw it, and I was a little surprised that because it's not the kind of film that I associate you as going to see.
No, I must admit,
because it's a chick flick, isn't it?
Well, I remember seeing the first film, maybe God, I don't know, 20 years ago, ages after it.
Who did you see it with? I'm sure it wasn't because you wanted to see it.
No. Last night there was a group of people went, and I'm part of them, and there was a ticket going, and I just thought, I haven't been out, I've been ill, and I just thought I'll just go there. It's a cinema down the road, a small cinema, only had 18 seats, and
right.
I think there was 8 or 9 of us, and I thought I'll go. Why not?
Yeah.
And I went. And
well, I'd go too. I'd have gone too. I would have gone too if it was a free ticket.
Yeah, I made the person who didn't go. I made them a cheese pie because she said you can have it. She bought the ticket but couldn't go, and I made her a cheese pie, and that cost nearly a tenner anyway these days. God. But yeah. So as soon as I got there, I felt fine. It was all right. And as soon as the advert started, like it was just, well, you can imagine what adverts are like these days, very strange and unreal. And then as soon as the film
I haven't
started,
been to the movies in ages, so maybe you'd like to describe them.
Well, it's ultra progressive, ultra like woman, race, I wouldn't say anti-man almost. Like there's not any white Hardy Men, it tends to be like it's so unrealistic. Like, you know, you'll have like um, a cross section of this modern society that you don't even see in the real world. You know, like families where you've obviously got a brown or white mother, the opposite father, and the children are mixed race or something or whatever, and all of
Mm.
that. And I'm not saying that's good or bad or this, but it's the people that make these things be terrified to put like then it, then again they do it. They'll put black families on, but it's anti. I don't know if it is anti-white, but it comes across as that. And I don't normally think like that, but these adverts were just so like putrid. And then I thought, oh, when the film starts, right, okay. And that was worse. That was
Mm.
there's lots of things that I didn't like about it, and one of the things was the sexual content. Now, I'm not a prude, or I'm not like I don't know. I'm not.
It's not 18, is it?
I don't think it's. I think it's 15.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
the children in the film were like 7 or 8 or 9, like the actresses, and there was stuff that was like discussed or that I thought it's really like bad letting the young actors like within earshot of this stuff, and even though it was a 15, like a friend of mine who was sat behind me with her mum, who's I think the mum's get like not being rude but getting on a bit, and I know her quite well, quite measured type, conservative type, but I was cringing. Have you ever watched a film or a program? You might have done it with um, your mum when you were in Malaysia, and if some sexual stuff comes on, it's awful,
Mm.
isn't it? It's just like ah, cringe, and um, there was stuff on going on, and that I was just like God, like I didn't you know like uh women on about their vulv ear and how different types and flappy and all.
Ooh.
No, honestly, Claire, it was fucking. It was just really. I don't want to hear it. I don't. Yeah, and loads of other stuff. The first 20 minutes as well was just like I'm thinking, what are they doing? But I did read something about female comics that all they tend to joke about is sex. And I thought, that's right, that when you see the clips come on YouTube, that's one of the things that they do. Or being fat, being overweight, and sex jokes, you know, about
Mm.
like not liking it, and the husband, you know, he comes in and I pretend to be asleep, and you know, but he knows my
Mm.
breathing patterns and he knows when I'm faking sleep, and then his hand comes over me and all this sort of stuff. And like it was just awful, and the I didn't like it at all, and it also made me a bit odd on a personal note because I'm obviously not living in London now, but quite a bit of it was on Hampstead Heath, which I know
Mm.
inside out, and
Mm.
quite a lot of it. There's a street that I know where I used to park my car, and that's where the film was. So there was a bit
Mm.
of nostalgia. Um, One of the women in the film I know, as I had relations, but it made me feel a bit, don't know, like missing London, which I don't in a way, but it was just like, oh, like, you know, and um, I did think all of the leading, not the leading parts, but you'd have to see it. It was very, you can guess, modern progressive that's got to fit every type of, you know, even at the end, the actor who was horrible, Hugh Grant, he kissed a man on the lips. Now,
Ooh. How old is he now?
probably getting on a bit. I mean,
Yeah.
probably, but like just for a second, you know, and there was a little cheer in the crowd, like, and on the scene, like people were, and it was just like all of that, and the film itself was atrocious. Don't get me wrong, but for me, it was just the people that are making this stuff, like. It wasn't even real world. If you were, if a bunch of like hardcore fascists, right wingers, Nazis, whatever, like did a play on how the world might look in 20 years, it was that.
Right.
And it wasn't even real, Claire. It wasn't like it was a lot of women, girl, like power. It was just like fucking. I don't know. I shouldn't have gone, but I did stay the whole. How bad it got was, like the film started at 7:30 and finished at 9:30. 120 minutes. So after 10 minutes or 12 minutes, I worked out that was 10%. 6 minutes was 5%. So every 6 minutes went. So I was up to 24, 30%, and I was just on countdown. And because it was at the cinema, it's not good to use your phone, even though there was a signal and there was football on, and I could have done football betting and instead of watching the film. But I think half the time I literally was not watching the screen. I was watching above it, watching to the left, watching to the right. And then a friend of mine went to the toilet after 15 minutes and came back in. And I just suddenly thought, oh, emergency, phone call, need to pick somebody up, left the washing machine on so I could leave and not come back. But I knew the right thing to do was to stay, because to leave and not come back, it would have, I'm not saying I'm important or anything, but like it possibly would have been more to the type of people that were there. It would have been more like not entertaining, more of a happening in the film. Like it's sort of, if I'd gone out to the pretend toilet and just gone home, and I just knew it was best, the right thing to do was to stay. But I really, 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 it was torture for 2 hours, absolute torture. But as you say, and I realised that when a couple of the blokes, it's like a swimming group thing. When I messaged them after, they were like, "What the fuck were you doing going?" Like, and a couple of the women there said, "Oh, he's blah blah," not there. And they were like, "Oh God, he wouldn't come to this. It's like, it's a woman thing." And I thought, "Oh right." So I'd made the mistake of going, but I do think you should watch the film. I'm sure you can get it in a little while. It'll be on YouTube or something. But
well, I can imagine, because Hugh Grant is in these movies like Notting Hill and About a Boy, and all these sort of what I'd call the bad movies, but which are very good for propaganda. Because the actors are attractive. Some bits are quite funny if you're prepared to, laugh along. And
it was really strange, and that there was Bridget Jones is obviously the main character, and she met this man, and he was like a young English white tree surgeon, but he was a scientist. Like, he was doing a degree, and even there he was studying to become a waste expert, like to do with biochemical degrading, getting rid of rubbish. I mean, everything was like modern times on steroids, and he also worked as a tree
ticking
surgeon.
the boxes of our belief system, which is environmentalism and political correctness and blah blah.
Yeah, and he was like kind, and it was just like Muslim man and this, and he was young, and she got with him, and it was the first person she'd been with after her husband had died, and they were getting on fine, and then he got cold feet, I think, because he was too young or something like that. So in the end, she ended up being with her children's teacher at school, who was like an English black African man.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought when that started to happen, I thought, oh gosh, they're not doing that, are they? And then there was an uncomfortable, it took about 20 minutes for it to materialize into like the next stage of romance was with the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, like, yeah, you know, I mean, it's almost like an AI type film, right? A modern progressive film, you know, and it'll include like, you know, the aggressive woman, the mixed race stuff. And I'm not against that stuff. You know me, you know my past, and stuff. And it's not that I'm hate it or this that. It's more so like the people are scared to be real. You know, like boxing commentary, having to have women on that are they're fucking dire, and football and stuff. You know,
You don't want female commentators, do you, for
well,
that sort of thing?
no, I personally don't, and I a lot of my friends don't as well. And I realise that a lot of people now are saying stuff which is, as long as they know what they're on about. But I thought to myself, even when they say things that make sense, I'd rather listen to a bloke saying the same thing. You know, and that might be prejudice, that might be bigoted, that might be, fuck knows, misogynistic, whatever the terms are. But what am I supposed to do? Like, that's what I feel. It's what I think. You know, I've been on the earth a few years. I've followed boxing for 40 odd years, and you know, someone might say you're stuck in your ways, and I'm like, well, I don't mind that. I like my way.
Yeah, well, yeah. Why can't they leave you alone?
Yeah, and I'm supposed to. And if you pass comment on it, then obviously you can get into trouble and stuff. So, yeah, but I won't. Actually, I'm due to be going on. I think it's March the 18th. To the theatre to see a play about somebody who lives in an airport or something. The Priory Theatre. I'm due to be going. I think I might go to that. That might be better, but I will give you an update on that one.
You'll become a cultural critic.
No, well, I tell you, I mean, the thing is, though, that what was good was the women who I was with last night know me well, and they were like, Jay, we wondered what, like, and they said at the end, what did you think? And I said, look, it's
not my cup of tea.
Yeah, and they laughed and they said, yeah, we knew that. Like, and a couple of them, I said I did really well to stay, and they said you should have just gone. But then that would have been more in the past. I would have, but sometimes we spoke about this. To do the right thing or the easy thing isn't necessarily easy, and the right thing tends to be harder. So if I'd stayed there, it meant staying, which was hell. And if I'd left, it would have been uncomfortable. And then for future events, invite Jay, or he walks out or whatever. I mean, it just would have been a bit, I don't know.
Well, I'm glad you stayed, because, you know, if you didn't stay, you can't, you know, give a proper review of the film, right?
Yeah.
So I'm glad you stayed. I think you did the right thing. But I was wondering what you thought of the previous one that you saw.
The previous what?
Bridget Jones film.
Well, I remember seeing the first one and being quite like, I enjoyed it. Like the experience was a horrible word, mildly pleasant. I didn't get annoyed. I didn't get like, it was just a silly film. and it was like you give it 6 out of 10,
Mm-hmm.
and that was probably 20 years ago.
Hmm.
But she's had like work done on her face and her eyes, you know, where they look a bit Chinesey.
Oh.
The cheeks are up and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
the one I'm
How
going
old is she supposed to be now? Renee, what's her
to
name?
with,
Yeah.
I
Let me
think
just check what how old she
in the
is now.
film, she's 35, but I think she'll probably be 60 in real life. 50, 55.
Right. Oh, so in the movie, she
Yeah, in the
did they
movies, I
say
think
how her husband was what? She's an American actress. So what was she doing with playing a British actress,
yeah,
a British character?
Firth in the first film, I don't know how many there's been. But she was married to
She's
Colin
55.
Firth. How old?
Yeah.
How old is she,
Yeah, I
Claire?
was trying to remember his name. Yeah.
Right. She's married to Colin Firth, and he
Mm-hmm.
gets killed in
Mm-hmm.
the start of this film, or he has been killed. I don't know how many there've been,
Mm-hmm.
and um, uh, so, but she looked a lot older than her mother because she was supposedly like it was about being a single mother, which obviously is championed anyway, and but she looked like not old. I don't mean old, but like yeah. Um, the one I'm going to see on March the 18th is a play called Boeing, and it's set in the 60s, and the self-styled Lothario. What's a Lothario, Claire? L
Um,
Lothario.
I know. What's Romeo?
Right. Well, the
Mm-hmm.
self-styled Lothario, Bernard, lives in his luxury apartment in Paris with his beautiful fiancée, who's an air hostess and very glamorous. The only problem is, so is his other fiancée and his other fiancée. One is American, one is Italian, and one is German, and all fly for different airlines, so they should never cross paths. Along with his long-suffering housekeeper, who has a multitude of menus available, with the ever-changing continental meals on the table, and his old school friend paying a visit, everything was going well until all three ladies have an unexpected layover at the time. I cannot go and see that.
Hmm. Because it's about a successful um,
Well, no,
ladies' man,
it's just like Bridget Jones, isn't it? It's about a bloke,
but a male version.
yeah, who's got 3 or 4. There'll be, yeah, it'll be jokes that I don't find funny. It'll be like situations I don't find funny, and everybody around me will be laughing, and I'll be like sat there
Hmm.
thinking thoughts that I will keep to myself. So I will bail
Hmm.
out of that one, and not not put myself through it. So even though I paid for the ticket, so I think it was £11, but they can have it. I'm happy not to go.
What
Um,
made you change your mind? What was it, Bridget Jones, that made you think I'm not going to go see this other one?
yeah. I just don't. I mean, when's the last time you watched the film?
I watched Napoleon, which
Mhm.
is a oh, he made Aliens. I forget his name now. The director who made Aliens.
Was it a long film?
Um, yeah, it was sort of longish, I suppose.
Hmm.
How can I forget his name? Um, but I have, but I'm sure I'll find it. He made the Alien film, so he's Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott, right? So it was a proper film.
Yeah.
Um, was it at the cinema?
No, it was Netflix.
Oh, you have Netflix, do you?
Hmm.
Right. Um, it's difficult. I find it difficult to watch a film these days. You know, I've been watching on TikTok as well. Are you on TikTok?
I sort of am, but I never go there. I mean, I know they're good for short videos, but I don't exactly sit around watching, movies. I guess I just watch um, political commentary. I know it's a bit
Yeah.
sad, but or
No, no, no.
some
Like
documentary. I'm not into
likewise,
soaps or
if I
anything.
come in, I'll put my computer on, and I'll look, and I'll see. I'll go into X, and if there's anything happening politically, it tends to come up on my home screens for YouTube or Facebook stuff, and I'm looking at stuff. But later on in the night, I look at stuff like dogs or animals on TikTok, or there's a lot of people who are leaving the country as well. I mean, thousands. Apparently, every 45 minutes, a millionaire is leaving the country. And the video in the reasons why and going to the airport, and a lot of people are living in vans now. They're saying, I'm not paying like £1,200 a month for a room. I live in a van for 5 years, save 60,000 quid, and that'll put me for a deposit for a tiny bedroom in Croydon or somewhere, tiny 1-bedroom flat. And so there's people like doing films of their day, and it's only like 30 seconds per film so they have to like you don't listen to them dawdle on. But a lot of the entertaining videos on TikTok are actually political as well. Like i.e. People leaving the country. There's a lot of really anti-Labour stuff, Labour supporters who are like kind of stand Labour, and the Labour Party are doing things that not even the Tory Party did, type thing. Which I've been saying it for ages, and I think a lot of people are, but I was saying it years ago that, like, I think now 1 in 10 people are off work with mental health issues, and that's why the government is stepping in now. Even just before doing this stream, I had a little bit of apprehension, nerves, fear. I don't mean, probably at about 1%. It's not like making a cup of tea. It's like, oh, I'm going to go on TV or YouTube talking live. It's like a little bit anxious, like, but not in a bad way. But I don't class that as mental health. Going for a job interview.
You should be a little nervous.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the human condition. And like, I do think a lot of people now, not just youngsters, they believe that there's a life where, and where it's perfect. So mainly women, they'll go on dates with men, and it's like, oh, he bought a drink, but when he was at the bar, he talked to the barmaid for more than he needed to. Red flag. So I walked out. So there are so many red flags, like they call it, in the world, in the dating game, that, like, he opened the car door for me. He must think that as a woman I'm incapable of. Red flag. So I walked off. And but yeah, this mental health thing,
I think that they're deliberately stoking it, even on YouTube. It's like, I don't know if it comes out on your YouTube feed that, maybe I'm autistic, maybe I suffer from undiagnosed. It's like we're encouraged to think that we're mentally ill.
Yeah.
And then we're enticed into watching videos to confirm this.
Yeah. Well. I spoke to someone earlier today who works in the NHS, and they work with children who are prescribed with ADHD or autism and stuff like that. Quite a small little hospital, but I did say about how many people are on the books, and they were like, oh, thousands on the waiting list, like thousands and thousands. And I was thinking, wow, how come all of a sudden, like 1 in 2 children or something, 1 in 3 children have got this condition?
It's like a fashion, right? It's like, oh, you've got a kid with autism. I've got 2 kids with autism. Both of my children have. I remember talking to this mother, years ago. It's like, it's nothing to be proud of.
No.
Are you crazy?
Well,
but there you go.
The thing that they're proud of is when they go, oh, like little Billy, he's been struggling at school. This happened, that happened, but thank God he's been diagnosed. And I thought,
you don't diagnose because
what does that mean?
It's a mark for the rest of their lives, right? Maybe you can hide it. Maybe if your kid's a bit stupid, you can hide it by saying, well, don't talk too much, kid. You can always, not be talking, because then everybody will think you're stupid. So just keep, especially if you're a woman, you don't need to be making speeches the whole time.
Yeah, that'll be you. It has got to that point where there are people now on TikTok saying, oh, I've got mental health issues, I'm anxious because I might be losing my job. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, but that's not mental health. That's
anxiety, just sort of normal day-to-day anxiety that we might find, people get impatient at traffic jams, it's normal.
Yeah. Should we go on to, because I like to keep things moving these days, should we go on to them questions that, what's his name? Khalid.
Yes, you wanted to talk about his book.
Yeah, he asked me to discuss what did he say? Let me just so it might be making more sense for where is he at? I am Khalid, right. Well, he's writing a book for Happiness book, and he wrote 3 introductions to it, and I critiqued them for him. And he said, please share your thoughts on my first chapter, right? So should we go through these quickly?
Yes, please.
Right. Finding happy. A simple path. Think about this. Being happy might be easier than you think. It's like a path. If you go the right way, you'll find it. If you go the wrong way, you'll get lost. How do we know which way to go? I want to tell you about Islam and why it is a good way to find happiness. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, it does sound a bit simplistic and not addressing the concerns of people who don't like Islam.
Yeah.
Who imagine themselves being happy being Muslim.
Well, I would, yeah. I mean, what you're saying is true. What he's saying, first of all, he's trying to sell Islam. So straight away, like I wish he'd just be honest. I've never tried to sell Christianity to you or anyone. And, or even persuade you. I've argued or said things, but I'm okay with you not being Christian. I don't understand why he wants to like push it on people, and also as well, I don't think Islam, from what little I know, it's not about being happy. Life is not about being happy. Happy is 5% of your day. Like, what is he on about? What is he on about? Well, what if you go down this route? You will be a happy person. It's like a cardboard cutout of a happy person, so you can get introduced to people and say, "Oh, this is Jay. He's a happy person," and I'll say, "Yes," and they say, "How did you become a happy person, Jay?" And I'll say, "Oh, I found Islam." Like it doesn't work like that.
Well, people don't believe it, right? Because they think, oh, if I convert to Islam, my friends and family will hate me, and my problems will begin. More problems will begin then.
Possibly, but the it's like being funny. I'd like to be a funny person. Does that mean you have to be telling jokes for 24 hours? I want to be a happy person. Happiness is an emotion, like a feeling that you get when you're happy, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But if the desire for religion is not to be fucking happy, like, has he not learned this? It's there's a lot of the purpose of religion. There's a lot of reasons for it and purposes for group unity, common thinking, marriage, children, family, identity, things like that, group purpose. I get all of that, but I don't know about. I would have thought solidity, consistency, principled, confident, strong, and stoic when life brings up its like shit bits. Oh no, I'm happy because it's not just about Islam, it's religion, so I think he's going down the wrong path here. And also as well, maybe you can send in this video, the pursuit of happiness is a state. It's like it doesn't exist. You cannot pursue happiness. The human being can't. They can become happy in certain areas, or certain things can make them happy, but to chase it is.
It's like chasing rainbows.
Yeah, and the chase might be. You might feel good, but once you get there, it's not like a pill. You can get a pill like called ecstasy. That's what he's on about, and I think I've spoken to you about this stuff before. It's when you stop looking for it, when you stop wanting to be happy, is when you become like extremely content. I would say that you're not happy when you're streaming and you're talking and you're discussing stuff. Like, you're certainly not unhappy. You might be happy when you go to see a film or someone tells you a joke or something, but you're very settled when you're on your turf, your territory. My critique for Khalid with this is get off the happy ticket, and I would have thought consistency, measured principles.
Well, getting what you want, that is what makes people happy. I mean, to be really simplistic.
Yeah.
Something exceeding your expectations.
Yeah, and also as well, if you're quite strong in a sense of whatever comes in your life, like death, unemployment, homelessness, whatever, drink addiction, and like, if you have the capacity and courage to get past that stuff, it doesn't make you happy. It just makes you like a bit more confident in you. And if people know that, oh, I know this guy Jay, he's pretty, he's strong, he's been through a bit and he's all right, he's doing pretty good. Like, that's better than happy, so I think he's going down the wrong path with that. Now, the first one, he says, right, Prophet Muhammad says, be happy with what you have. It's like having lots of treasure. And he says, sometimes we chase after things to be happy, but it doesn't last, right? Islam says true happiness comes from peace inside. Like, if you're happy with what you have, you won't always want more. In fact, we often have so much, but don't realize it because we're always thinking about what we do not have. So I guess he's saying there more what I was saying. So do you think that true happiness comes from peace inside?
Yes.
I think I would say that, but true happiness isn't smiling necessarily.
Well,
True
it's
happiness,
contentment. It's like I have just enough, and I don't want anything more, kind
yeah,
of thing. Even though there are people around me who don't think I have, what I ought to have.
yeah. So I have
I'm
what I
content
need.
not to have it.
Yeah, I have what I need. So if you're a person who has God on your side and you have faith, then you're confident that you can get through this life without too much trouble. And if trouble does come, I'm okay with it. I mean, and that's inner peace is also inner strength. Because I've noticed with the younger people these days, they all suffer from anxiety, and anxiety is basically fear. I'm not going to be able to cope. Anxiety is a vision of the future where I cannot cope. So if I was going to go to the cinema again to see a film, I might be anxious because I think, oh fuck, I'm not going to be able to handle this.
Hmm.
And but if I think I'm all right, I can handle it, and I've got evidence of that. Excuse me, hang on. Then, but anyway, so Prophet Muhammad says, "Be happy with what you have. It's like having lots of treasure." Well, I would go so far as to say, does treasure give you happiness? That I mean, it's that's a different, because Jesus spoke about treasures in heaven, and that wasn't gold and diamonds and everything. That was about your consciousness being quite clear and calm, and there's nothing between you and your God, and that is treasures in heaven that Jesus spoke about. But Prophet Muhammad is talking about gold and silver, I assume. Um, so, and also as well, Khalid goes around with that fucking camera, filming like nothing. Oh, it's like he's trying to tell me that he's happy. Oh, look, it's great here. I'm in a cafe in Sudan, and he hasn't had any customers for 3 days, but he's a lovely man who's 103, and he's going to give me a coffee. It's too much selling, trying to convince other people that he's happy. Look at me. I'm in Africa. I'm chasing another wife because it's like happy or Mexican. It's bullshit. What he should stop selling it and try to sort of pretend or promoting it. People will see it and judge what they want. It doesn't need his spin on it.
But Jay, you have been also selling, the kingdom of heaven, haven't you?
No, I don't. I don't. I don't give a flying F if you take it up or not. I'm really happy and content with you hating my religious convictions. It doesn't bother me. Like, I'd like you to be content within. I'd like Khalid to be content within. But Christianity might not be your bag. You might hate it. There's a lot of reasons to hate it. I accept it's not great in a lot of areas. I've never hit that. But I don't get onto you trying to be nice to you for 10 minutes and suddenly slip it in like what you do with OJ. So Christianity seems to be failing. What else have you considered? Do you know anybody who's got a solution? And I think, oh, actually, Claire, you have, and you go, yes. Like
I don't do it quite like that, but I am not saying that it's a key to happiness, but if you're still whinging about your government, why not be able to talk about it? But I think ultimately what you're talking about is spirituality, and I think spirituality is something to do with mental health, which you were also talking about. What do you think about the link between spirituality and mental health? Is there a link, in your opinion?
I think there's a big link between spirituality and New Testament Christianity. Yeah, the New Testament is not big on rules, and the Old Testament was. But Jesus did say, "I come not to abolish, but to add to it." Basically, so it's not
To
just the New
fulfill it.
Testament. Yeah, fulfill. Yeah. So the New Testament, which you hate, and I do enjoy dropping it in and hearing you squirm. Some days when you get into a rage, and that's like me pulling the cat's tail. I'll be honest. Some days I have, but you've done that to other people. I know that. It can be quite amusing. Mental health, spirituality. Yeah, vaguely. I think that we overplay our importance in the big picture as humans. I think it's pretty simple. If you do stuff, well, I've got a fantastic book that my friend recommended, and he said to me, "Try this book." Now I've been reading it for 2 months. I'm only on page 29, but I think this is so fantastic. Can I read it to you? And it relates to what you said.
Go on then.
Things I do that take me towards the life that I want to build. So this is to do with thoughts, feelings, actions, basically. So the things that I do that take my life towards the life that I want to build. And then there's the other way, things that I do that take me away from the life that I want to build.
Mm-hmm.
So if you write down during the day things that you've done, the things that you've thought about, things that you've said, like, is it working towards you? Is it in your favor? Is it working towards you, or is it not? And with this mental health thing, like when I was a kid, I would come home, race home from school, try to get some like cake out the cake box or some sandwich, and before my tea, I used to, which doesn't surprise you, like sort of semi-steal food from the out, like this. We were told not to eat before our tea because we wouldn't eat our tea, which fucking wasn't not true, believe me. And then I'd race out with my cricket bat or football and look for people to play with. Or there was a tree in the garden. I'd climb up. I once broke my arm trying to swing with backwards and all kinds of stuff. I had a bike and I'd ride my bike. I once tried to ride my bike and see with my eyes closed to see how long it would take before I crashed. And I've still got a scar in my brow where I hit the corner. Yeah. But I was doing stuff and I didn't have any issues. And like, I wonder with these youngsters today, what do they do? Look at the food they eat. Look at the drinks they drink. Look at what they do when they get home from school. Look at what they do at school. I don't think they think they play sports at school these days. So, yeah, they're going to have fucking mental health problems because of the life that they live. If you put a dog in a cage, it will have mental health problems. If you put a human in a cage, if you let children live on iPhones and like all kinds of stuff like that, and they don't do anything, they don't have friends, they text their friends for dating, it's a swipe game. It's shit. It is not living. Humans are meant to live. Pretty simple. So I think the mental health thing massively is about people are just miserable, and it's because of the life they lead. and a lot of them don't know a better way. So, like today, for example, I went swam. I went in the steam room. I saw some people up there. It's quite a posh gym hotel, so there's a good level of people there. I spoke to some blokes that were going to London on Sunday for the football final, and like it was quite fun. And I was running late, but I was stimulated. It was good. I've got a book from my friend. The book's called The Happiness Trap. I read that. So I will look tomorrow to do more. There's a stretching class at 11:30, for example, and by next week I should be back in the sea. And if I don't do them things, I will be stuck in the house, pretty miserable, listening to you and Vincent. You see what I mean? Which I have been, but I don't want to be doing that. So the spirituality linked to mental health. Well, yes, in a way where when a person's not living right, and their mental health is fucked up, like they need to do spiritual. Anybody who does spiritual activity, like a lot of meditation and all that type of stuff, it's because they're like wound up, or they're not maybe doing the right things, perhaps. So spirituality, it can be a way of life, but I know a lot of people that do pretty well without doing spiritual stuff because they don't really need to, like, so, I thrive in chaos. When everything's peaceful and calm, it bores the fuck out of me. It really does. So chaos can be good. Right, I've got to record this song, I've got to do that, I've needed to get that done, I need to do that, I've got like 18 things to do that day. And but to me, I'm calm. I'm quite laid back when stuff like that's going on. And being busy and doing things you like doing. And Joe Rogan, who I don't particularly like the fellow, but he said something really, really good. And I do think it's fantastic. He said, write a list of things down that you like doing, and tomorrow do 3 of them. And check when you wake up in the morning how you feel, and you like 3 things you're going to do that day that you liked. And that's how children think, or used to think. Hey, what should we do tomorrow? Let's go to the river. Let's do this. Let's go and knock on doors and run away. Let's play football. And then the next day, you do the same again. And he says, you keep doing that. Keep doing it every day. What am I going to do tomorrow? And he says, you make that stuff happen. And it doesn't take long before you start becoming happy. Do things that you like doing. And so many, it's simple, isn't it? So many things now. I mean, for you, it might be Speaker's Corner. It might be go to a church or a mosque or whatever the hell you do. It might be do a stream with Vincent about AI. Grok. It doesn't matter what it is. We're all different. But and I think stuff like that is quite simple. So as opposed to giving little Johnny a football and saying go and kick it in the fields, they'll get him diagnosed with mental health issues. And I do think it's so, and it's also, being a parent is fucking hard. It requires so much effort to like encourage, praise, create, spend time doing it. It's easy just to say, oh, he's got ADHD and let some motherfucker deal with it,
Oh yes, have you heard from Stephen talking about ADHD?
No, but I did. I've got some private communications with him, but he hasn't been on that for over a month. So I think with Stephen, what he does, he goes into character of like who he is, SJJ and all that stuff. But it's like he's quite a sensible. I like the fellow. He's quite a sensible, normal, good chap. And then this other world it is a little bit disturbing, I think, and I don't think he can keep it up, which I understand completely. And there could be negative connotations for it, especially with him. He's young and stuff. So I think there's maybe a fear thing with him. But I was going to message him and just check in with him, but my intuition said not to. But he does leave for quite a bit and then come back, doesn't he? But I've done that in the past where you come back and you see what's happened, and so whereas you've been pretty consistent, I think, haven't you, over the years?
I think so, because I guess I stream for a purpose, so it's a means to an end, and because
So
he said he has, he said he had ADHD. He announced it on X, didn't he? So that was what made me think of him when you said ADHD and all that.
yeah, Claire, just 2 seconds. I just want to shout at a neighbour. Hang on.
Hi 5 live viewers. No comments, so I can't exactly respond to your questions.
No,
So have you
sorry.
shouted at your neighbour? Have you shouted at your neighbour after he shouted at you?
There's a dog. There's a neighbour out the back who they don't take the dog out, and as summer starts, they let the fucker out at 6:30 in the morning. And we've been under the council, we've been under the RSPCA, and sadly they're starting again. Let it out. So you have to jump on it when it happens. So I would have shouted out, "Shut your fucking dog up." That's my opening line. And then if they don't, I go around. And yeah, I mean, it's quite a way away.
Why is it barking?
Well, that's one of the questions I used to ask, but then I knew it was getting the better of me when I was looking on eBay for an air pistol. I knew.
Oh dear.
No, but there's a lady along at number 7 who lives opposite it, and she honestly goes out of her mind with it. So me and her go round to the house, and the woman's it's horrible. The woman's a drinker, and she reckons she takes it. It's just awful. And then, like, it needs to stop. You have to nail it every time. You cannot let it do it once, because then last year, the year before, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning at midnight, and at midnight, they don't take the dog out. Simple as that. Buy a dog and whatever, let it crap in the garden and stuff like that. So, are you following? Oh God, it's such a very traumatic subject. Are you following any world politics at the minute? When I say that,
I mean, there's lots to follow, really, with so much going on in America.
But can you keep up with it? Can you keep up with it?
Well, I'm mostly interested in American foreign policy, and Duterte is, well, I need to listen to George Samueli again, but it's not looking good for him because of what happened to Slobodan Milosevic, and it's like, well, what? I mean, basically, Duterte is not liked by the Americans because he was pro-China, and now they've got the new president in who is very pro-American and wants to punish his predecessor. I think that is the story, but of course nobody has any right to basically kidnap him and dump him, in The Hague.
Yeah.
And the other thing is,
Claire, just give me 2 seconds. I need to shout. It's just started again. I'm sorry. I am listening to you. Give me 10 seconds.
Don't mute yourself. We want to hear you shout.
It's not that. No. Sorry, different dog. My neighbour's dog. I don't mind that one occasionally barking. It's a Jack Russell, and it's when it smells the rats, it chases the rats. That's fine. That right, yeah. So, are you following Trump and all stuff that's going on?
Um, yes, I mean, I hear a few things. I mean, I won't pretend I'm completely on top of it, and rushing to comment. The first time I still listen to the Duran and Peter
Yeah.
Lavelle and the gaggle and that sort of thing. And sometimes it's probably best to let things settle before you comment on it, right?
Well, what's happening now? It's almost like every 3 hours something happens, and with Trump, it's like you know, he's now telling Putin about peace, and if he doesn't do it, he's going to crash the Russian economy and all stuff like that. And yesterday he was selling Tesla with Elon Musk. There's people that are burning the Tesla cars in the world. Like the American stock market's taking a dive, but apparently that's normal. People take the money out and put it in bonds and buy the stock market's back in 6 months at a cheaper price. It's part of the crash. But I get to the point where, I mean, if you look at Palestine and Israel, like Trump was on about making Palestine into like a holiday resort, but apparently now the other Muslim countries are going to take over it, and you just think, like, what is going on? I mean, it does.
Well, I think he's basically saying he's going to downsize the American empire, and he's saying goodbye to us, NATO.
Yeah, I think he's doing that.
And if he says goodbye to NATO, he'll eventually have to give up Israel. So, that's something for the Jews to be thinking about. I mean, he is downsizing the empire because he's saying, we can't afford to be global hegemon. It costs a lot of money, and nobody likes it. Everybody hates it, and I can't justify this, use of U.S. taxpayer dollars. Okay, that's my theory. We'll see if I'm right.
No, it's true. It's what he says. What's he doing with Israel? Is he still like under orders from Israel with everything?
Well, I mean, I think Israel is a funny one because whoever has Israel kind of thinks, oh, I've got it's like you're very wealthy and you're so wealthy you can buy a football team, and you kind of want to hold on to it because it's showing how wealthy you are, right?
Yeah.
You can own a football team, and even if you don't need a football team, who wants to but it's like, oh, I just want to show off to everyone, and then you can't bear to give it up. Or maybe you live in a big fat mansion and you don't need all those rooms in your mansion, but you don't want to give it up.
Aye.
I think that's a psychology.
Yeah.
And I guess, Trump is saying we can't afford it, nobody likes us, and our people don't support Israel. So why are we doing this? We should just look after ourselves and, that kind of thing. I mean, because the Americans, they don't have to trade with anyone, do they? They're self-sufficient. It's us that have to worry in Europe,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I like what you said. I think that's true. That's what Trump's doing. He's basically, as a nationalist, he's trying to close the borders, get rid of the drugs, stop trading with other countries as much or if at all, pull them out of all the wars, and keep everything close to home, and have it like what it probably was in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, before everything spread. And makes sense to me, but I don't think the rest of the world's like taking to it. Do you follow? Isn't it depressing following Keir Starmer and the Labour Party and listening to these couple of female women around him?
I can't even. I don't even listen to British news, really.
No.
I mean, I basically get my news from the Duran and the Gaggle, and and it's like I can't bear to listen to the BBC.
And the Gaggle.
Yeah, it was
What's
Peter
the
Lavelle
Gaggle?
and George Samueli. Peter Lavelle, who used to go on the Duran.
All right, I looked that up. Is that Gaggla, the gaggle?
Yes,
Yeah, with Peter and George. Right, I've got you.
yes, yes.
Ah,
So, I mean, they both they sort of say more or less the same thing. So, they check out with each other, in my view.
are they pro-Russian?
Not pro-Russian. I mean, they're just saying, that. I mean, they're anti-neocon, and basically the neocons are the people who, want to go around invading other people's countries
Yeah,
and telling them what to do.
got you. Got you.
And they still haven't got the memo that, Trump is saying it's over.
Mhm.
And I mean that's why Starmer thinks that Britain and France alone can carry on the war in Ukraine when the Americans are saying no, we're not doing it.
Yeah, about Europe having to put the money up, and that von der Leyen woman, she said they have to find 800 billion euros, and that's a lot of money. It really is a lot of money, and but I don't think Putin. Like, I have friends who are quite sensible, and I say, "Do you think Putin will invade like a European country?" And they say, "Oh yeah, definitely." But I don't.
I
He's
don't
just,
either. I mean,
yeah.
people like Stephen has, swallowed the anti-Russian propaganda, since, well, hook, line, and sinker. He's just thinking, the Russians are going to come and invade us. It's like, well, they've never done it, right? They're
Mm,
not interested. They've got plenty of territories that they can't even, get together because of the, dissolution of the Soviet Union. They haven't got the manpower to come and take us over, and why would they? It's not like
mhm.
there's gold and, stuff like that here. So, but I know for centuries, Britain has taken a Russophobic stance, beginning with the Crimean War. And it's
Mhm.
like, well, what's that about? Does any British schoolboy know what the Crimean War was about? I mean,
No, I either, but
it's yeah, it's sort of like the war in Ukraine. It's like, well, why are we there? Why are we fighting? Why are we getting ourselves killed? And
yeah.
nobody can really understand it.
Mm, mm. Um, have you been to Speaker's Corner recently?
Um, Not recently. I think the last time I went was 4 weeks ago.
Right, right, right. Oh, I think I've just looked at the chat. Lamby, hi Lammy. Um, he said the Chechen War twice, Georgia, Syria, Ukraine times three. Who's that? Is that
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, all these places used to be part of the Soviet Union,
yeah?
right?
So
So
a lot of people think that Trump is going to invade Spain, not Trump, Putin going to invade Spain, and then Germany, then France, and take over the UK, and all of the stuff
I
with
think
Czech.
quite a lot of British people might think, well, at least we'll be better run under Putin than under this lot.
Well, last night when I was watching Bridget Jones, I was thinking that, but only going back about 60, 70 years, to a period of time when, and um, things got a bit strange, and I was just thinking, fucking hell, like, you know, yeah, I remember. Do you remember that? What's his name? He moved to North Dakota. He used to drink a lot. Um,
Um,
America.
OV.
Yeah, he said, "Do you think Britain would be better now if the Germans had won the war?" And
Hmm.
it's a silly question, but you occasionally think about it. And when I was in the cinema last night, I was quite convinced that he was right. He might have had a point, you know,
Hmm.
um, when you're seeing this stuff. But uh, the Cuban Missile Crisis, I was reading about that. That was in the 1950s or 60s. That was with Eisenhower, wasn't it? I think.
And
Um,
and and yes, Kennedy. He was.
yeah,
And it was basically the Americans telling the Soviets to take their missiles out of the Americas.
Wow, which is what Putin's been saying to NATO, keep them away. But the thing is, like, the question then is, would NATO attack Russia? And the answer is no. Did they move into Russia? No. But when you're dealing with like people like Putin, for example, you're not dealing. I don't think you're dealing with. I was chatting to somebody earlier today, and my friend says, "Oh, Trump should put more sanctions on Russia." And I'm like, they don't care about sanctions.
Tried it already.
But I said to him that if the Russian people were freezing to death because of sanctions that America had put on whatever, oil or whatever, Putin would just be like, well, die, like to his own people. Some of you, it's principled. It's not about niceties, and it's a different game. And if he says, if you move further eastwards towards Russia, we're going to take action, I don't think you need to sort of analyze that. You just need to think, we best not do that. Like, you know, you're not dealing with normal, rational people in that sense. And Lamy said as well, NATO was already bordering already. Oh, I see, right.
Well, NATO is encircling Russia. That's why it's objecting, because there was a time, maybe you remember this, there was something called the Eastern Bloc, which is part of the Iron Curtain, and then the Iron Curtain, well, the Berlin Wall fell, and then one by one they became the Warsaw Pact, I think, and then they all joined NATO, and then they encircle Russia. And Russia said, please, can Ukraine not be NATO? That's all we ask, and they ignored it.
But there was never a day when NATO would suddenly, right, let's go into Russia and attack them. Like that wouldn't happen. It isn't going to happen.
Well, it's sort of happened now because, you know, Zelensky's been sending drones and, you know, that have been going into Russian territory and damaging, you know, Russian infrastructure and, you know, cities.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of that. But I mean, yeah, it's pretty aggressive, and they, you know, they do kill civilians, and I think the Russians have been very, very patient indeed. But you know, I know people who think, Ukraine should join NATO. It's like, you read the mail. Oh yes, you read the mail. That's why you say these things while you complain about rising prices and not being able to get an NHS appointment. But you support the war. What, you know? It doesn't make sense. And they're like, oh yeah, you know, you listen to the BBC and you buy the Daily Mail, and that's why you think like that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So, are you streaming with anybody else later tonight? Are you doing your grok with Vincent?
I probably will. Yes, we seem to have lots to talk about.
So when you do that, do you stream it on YouTube as well, or is it the day after when you've streamed it on YouTube?
Vincent prefers Spaces because, you know, sometimes he wants people to join the conversation, and it's easier to do that on Spaces than on YouTube. He doesn't use his YouTube account anymore, but I think it's useful for me to, you know, keep in touch with my YouTube viewers, even though I am mostly on X these days.
Yeah, I don't think I follow you on X, so I'll do that. But I'm going to make a move. I've got little things to do.
Neighbours to shout at.
Well, hopefully not. But thank you for the conversation. It's been quite civil, which is not a bad thing. And I will subscribe to you on X, so I will get alerts with your grok, and maybe I might come on and talk later in an hour or so, but I'll be listening if you start doing stuff. But I've got some domestic jobs to do.
All right then, Jay, get well soon with your chest infection.
Thank you, very kind. Speak to you later. Bye, Lammy.
Bye.